clear it out.
Yeah.
Remove the post gain. We'll probably want to have volume. Yeah, warning, it's gonna be like 70% louder now because everything was muted. Are we remaining in this channel, or are we just gonna leave and do it the old-fashioned way?
Clearies. Yep.
Sure.
Yep. Clear everything.
Right.
Great.
Let us know when you started the stream. Oh, it's streaming already. All right. All right. Let's start with 140 BPM. We're going to make acid.
Hello and welcome.
Okay, it's going to be more chaotic than normal now.
Back to the Weekend Jam. This one is quite a spectacle today. We have a little introductory liquid left over from the tutorial Swan was giving beforehand. There's a really in-depth tutorial about how to use Strudel, and a lot of people got to learn a lot of things. Thank you so much, Swan. And the performance today, the jam, really is going to get out of hand. I've been thinking about this all week. It was such a good one. So strap on your keyboards and your mouses because you're about to go on a wild ride.
Right, I'm going to come out of the voice channel because it's just going to be far too confusing.
Cursive in the top right.
Thanks, Swan, that was
is
fantastic. Loading
up some samples, and looks like we set the tempo to 140 BPM. Right, janeishly, thank you for adding your voice for a moment. And I think we got a bit of Swan at some of the earliest that we heard today. There were more speakers too, but we tried doing voice call a little bit during the performance, but honestly, it was like way too much going on. I could not do that. I can only do this voiceover after the fact. I tried to do this while performing live. It would simply be incomprehensible. This kick drum pattern is quite comprehensible. Okay, right, let's use the mouse and point to this thing. This is the bass drum that janeishly is giving us. It's a 3/8 Euclidean with an alternating sequence of how we multiply the notes. Collaborating on it now with Swan, turning it down because it was kind of loud. And we're going to see a lot of this today. Oh, yeah, exactly. Swan comments, a bit loud, lol. But today, because there's so many people in the jam, we find a lot more simultaneous collaboration like that, where 2 people or 3 people are working on some aspect of the sound at once. So, not even 5 minutes into the mix, and we've already got quite a full sound spectrum. Let's do a sound sweep from the lowest to the highest. In the low frequencies, we have a kick drum. I think that's the bass most frequency for right now. Above that, we have this Iwato scale pattern playing on a sawtooth, which is in the low mids. Now with some FM modulation, it increased its bandwidth even more. And some other effects pushed it up into the high mids. Let's now analyze some of the other sounds. This bass drum and clap pattern. This bass drum is one of the low ones, but the clap is more mid-range. I would categorize this clap in the garden bank. Sample number 2 of the garden bank. In the high mids, the alto register. So the low mids would be maybe more toms or snare drums, and some of the brighter claps live in this high mid. Darker claps would be low mid. And the hi-hats, are there... That's a funny sound. Are there any hi-hats in here? I don't think so. I think the only high frequencies we're getting are from the sweep on this pitch envelope. So the PM function here, I believe, is giving us some pitch contour. Oh my goodness, it sounds like magic. Now we got an open hat. Great. So this comma here, oh, we're doing 2 track lines at once. Thank you, Cleary, for providing this upper structure out of the infamous garden bank. So the first hi-hat, 9/16, is giving us the Euclidean pattern, putting 9 group elements into the space of 16. And the second one is a simple strudel pattern doing rest hat. Oh my, wow, literally 5 minutes into the mix and we have gone full rave. Rave! Rave, 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 rave. Rave! The savamala is handling the visuals today, and we currently see it appears to be a star field in the background, or perhaps something evocative of a star field, with some really curvy contours overlaid over it. Perhaps doing light blending because they interact with the background in an additive fashion. Wow, what is going on? Okay, that was... Oh! Savamala, you just broke my eyes and brain... I think you made my eyes and brain switch places. So that really wild sound is up here. I believe it's out of view. I can just barely see it at the edge of my screen, but it's that saw sound. And this is going to be a predominant, we can see the bottom half of it here. I'm circling it with a cursor. This is going to be a line that lives for about half an hour, if I recall correctly. But it is constantly being updated throughout the performance in some way. Right now it has this distortion effect on it. It's got a low-pass filter. We're animating the low-pass Q value, the resonance of that filter with the sine wave, and the envelope of it of the filter with this other sine wave. This new drop is PT Vox. I believe is that newest entry by Kyrsive here. They're attempting evaluation, but we're getting syntax errors. Probably not from their line. Their line looks fine, but there's, 5 other people currently editing this cell. 6. Oh, here I am. What have I been doing? Who knows? Oh, we have comments coming with Swan and... Oh no, we're just setting up some strudel lines. Okay, Swan is getting ready. Some random notes here, segmenting it. Whereas I'm setting up a hi-hat sample. I didn't hear enough hi-hats and thought that we needed more. I wanted a little bit more clarity on the beat. This synth line that continues to persist, I think, is part of what Swan was going over in their tutorial before this jam. They definitely were covering how to make acid sounds, and that is absolutely an acid sound. Quite acidic, my friends. Learn from the bird. Enjoy. The audio lectern. eyes are just really wide right now. It's so stimulating, the sum of everything going on. The music is changing constantly. There is that one synth line that, again, drives it consistently through, and it does have good animations on it. We saw the two sine wave on the low pass Q and the low pass envelope. They are slow LFO values, meaning it takes a long time for the animation of those parameters to carry out. And everything else around it changes. So that one synth line effectively becomes the boat or the ship that we're all in, while the sea of sound around tosses and turns. Not to mention the air, savamala, wow. We're going really into blue, black, and white. It's been a while since we've had this kind of palette. It feels like savamala has been doing a lot more warm colors in the recent jams, and this is entirely cool. It definitely aligns really well with the music. I don't know what it is about it, but I think the visual pacing has a good rhythm to it that matches the auditory rhythm. The code is a little bit hard to read today because there's a lot of it, which means we had to use a smaller font size, and also because there's a lot of amazing visuals going on too. Oh, I hear some randomness. Okay, there's this loud thing that just entered. Is doing some random frequencies. I can tell because it sounds like random notes. It's not in any key signature. It is the characteristic. This is the characteristic sound of a melody of random notes. Sample and hold is another term for it. And it could be two implementations. This actually sounds a little bit more like a highly resonant filter or sine wave at a specific frequency instead of a note value. Whoa, 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 whoa. The rhythm of it changed, which is nice. This is a more suitable rhythm for that random frequency melody. There's some really nice hi-hat rolls going on in here. And by roll, I mean a kind of pattern or dense cluster of notes. So a hi-hat roll or snare drum roll. Oh, eagle. That's great. Oh my goodness. Airhorn. Janeishly is just dropping the Airhorn so perfectly. They own it. It's theirs. The rolls. Yeah, rolls are nice because they create a dense cluster of note events that usually drives energy. It's also a great landmark or checkpoint. Wow. Oh yeah, there was a momentary high-pass filter of 2000. Thank you, Cleary, for doing that. So good. Sounds like the Airhorn sample has been modulated. The segment function is repitching it, it seems, in the process of performing the segmentation. Nice. We've got a modulation. Oh yeah, I did that. You see this melody, the melody that's been going on for the last 15 minutes and it suddenly changed notes? I thought that we needed that, so it happened. Now we went up a fifth, so it had returned to back to the tonic. Now we're up a fifth, and then from that fifth up another half step. But then this time, instead of going back to the tonic, we keep going up a half step. Up another half step. Until we arrive an octave higher from the starting point. Here I am doing that. You can see my yellow name tag. And now we have agreed to do octaves and fifths. Some other one, I believe that was Cleary or Swan, came and joined me on this transpose function call. I now updated the decay and sustain so that it spits at you instead of slings at you. I mean by that, you hear how it is now a lot more staccato and punchy. I also call that a spitting synth. But it's because of this decay value now being super short and a sustain value of 0. That slow moving filter rise is so good. It's this, I think it's this low pass envelope and low pass decay, and that's what gives it this really techno sound. Fast filter rises are good, but they get boring quickly, but the slow ones are dramatic. And they really make a phrase, they really give a phrase direction. Okay, savamala has taken us into a warp hole. At this point, I think each of the cells has at least 10 items each. I started underscoring a lot of things to help save on processing power too. This video, fortunately, was recorded on a device. It hasn't fully crashed yet, but I was refreshing probably every 10 minutes, every 5 minutes on this jam. Oh, Airhorn. Oh, Airhorn. It sounds like we're doing some pitch modulation on Airhorn so that it's more than one note. Probably through speed. It looks like the speed function here, it's very blurry, but I see the faint outline of the characters S, P, E, E, D. Oh, that melody got trancier. I remember setting all the notes to 0 so that we could start trying new key signatures. A moment of clarity, yes, on Airhorn. Well, Airhorn has been deleted, now we have saw, but there is a speed call here.
Of the rate generation, we love 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 repetition.
We love repetition, we love generation. Someone's calling in Shabda. Good old Shabda. House. House. This is finally the most chill the music has been, and this is still like...
Of the rate generation.
driving energy. Rave. Who knew all it took was 10 simultaneous people improvising pieces of music and art to create a rave? To be fair, it's more like 9 and 1. I think Savamala is owning the visuals, and then all the other livecoders are messing around on Strudel. There was a really cool jam last week, one episode previous. Oh, this sound is beautifully horrendous. Sounds like a nightmare coming to hug you. Last week there was a collaboration on visuals with Hydra and Punctual, which was really incredible to see. Yeah, where's this nightmare hug coming from? Time change! That was me. Dibs. I definitely did that. It's harmonic tempo again. This sounds like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 3 2 1 3 2 1 3 2 1 3 2. I think this is the 2/3. This is 2/3 of the original tempo, making the 1 3 2 1 3 2 cycle represent a hemiola with respect to the previous tempo. The reason I did it at that moment was because it felt like a good, not too busy time. There wasn't so many audio events going on that it would trigger a crash or sudden surprise. I've noticed it's safer to do these kind of time changes, the global time changes, whenever there's less audio events being processed, less patterns to call and evaluate. I tend to slow down before speeding up because speeding up is the more exciting thing to do, so I want to save it for later. And slowing down is a nice thing to do to chill out a bit. Oh great, we're getting some Hydra here in the bottom. This is Hydra code. So now we have Hydra, which is another visual framework mixing in with the punctual. Hydra and Strudel, these are both JavaScript. So if you're not familiar with either one, Hydra here is a JavaScript library for live coding visuals like we see here. And Strudel is a live code JavaScript framework for music. So with JavaScript, you could do music or visuals, but those aren't the only choices. There's also Punctual over here in the top left, which is written in something else. Time change, return to faster. It makes the bass line more obvious now. If you rewind even just 15 seconds, you'll hear the bass line, but it's more obvious now because previously, since it was slower, the bass line, because it's kind of staccato, it's not a fully drawn out melody that does a full sustain. Because there is an amplitude envelope on the bass line, and because it was slower, meaning there's more space between the events, that means the density, the overall density of bass presence in the mix was less than that of the density of any other region in the sound spectrum. But when we sped it up, the density didn't get noticeably more dense for the uppers or the mids, but we did get a noticeable more density on the bass. Vibraphone soft is going wild, the comment says. Bass drum, excellent. Question mark, question mark, question mark, indeed. Just calling out some performers I see right now. 64 Crow, ptdc, savamala, 0, new browser, Swan, cleary, janeishly, nottim, savamala. Oh my G. There's a really high-pitched frequency thing. It's a nice addition. I think we heard it enough now when it should be turned down though. Stuff like that can easily fatigue the ear. Great, someone solved it. Sounds like they dropped it by an octave. I'd point to it, but I don't know that it's on the screen. There's so much code off the screen this time, it's really hard to keep track, so I'm doing my best to capture things immediately as they happen when they're the most noticeable. Yes, I started to capture the performer list because it was just so remarkable. Yes, the visuals now are definitely very Hydra. This is a Voronoi noise source. Sorry, just a plain noise source. I'm highlighting that on the cursor here. Then passed through some extra filters for brightness and scaling, and adding in another canvas as well, 0, which is not. Oh, yeah, that's. Okay, so in Hydra, you write this noise buffer out to the 0 canvas, and then you're creating a new source from 01, which writes out to 01. So 01 is a feedback loop onto itself. I actually don't know if it's being rendered at all, because render is called on 0. 0 is getting this noise buffer, and it's also doing feedback on itself. So I think that just means this 01 is not getting rendered into any visible region. It does add in content from canvas 0, but it's not actually being rendered or shown, displayed anywhere. So it might just be eating compute. It does compile though. It doesn't cause any errors, and therefore it is valid Hydra code. Thank you, Swan. Swan is being so pedagogical today. Providing a workshop before the jam, and then so many assistant comments during the jam. Thank you, Swan. What's janeishly doing here? Working on some code. Is this whole thing in comments? This all looks grayed out. The entire top right cell appears to be gray, like someone's opened a block comment. Contrast that to the cell to the left, which is in full color. I'm sorry, janeishly and ptdc. Your B's and your saws aren't being performed, but they are being animated. Curious. I do hear this F sharp minor 7. This is almost certainly the bum 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 So perhaps it's just a syntax highlighting issue. On this channel, we have chord with an F-sharp minor 7 chord. We're using the voicing function so that it will spell the chord for us, which is a great thing to do. This beat function gives it a rhythm. Echo gives it some copies of the notes that are set 3/16 away, which is a really nice delay effect. Sound of a sawtooth. They have a filter applied of 300 hertz. We only get values 300 and below. We just changed the chord from F sharp minor 7 to E minor 7, so dropped it a whole tone. PTDC did that. And did some more low pass filter effects. We're setting the decay to 0.1 second, turning it down just a bit, which is always good to do, and mixing in 20% of the delay channel. Since it doesn't specify anything about the delay orbit or delay parameters, that means this call to delay is going to take whatever delay settings are from the orbit that is shared on. And since there's no orbit specified, that would be orbit 1. Oh, I accidentally scrolled. Unscroll. That's probably going to disrupt any subsequent audio-visual syncing, so I apologize. I'll go Rave. Boiler room. This is a very chill and bright mix. Not too crazy, not too wild. Feels like house music. Well, at least the balance is more even in terms of audio and visual live code mix. Savamala now has company with Nottim and Zero New Browser, and there was one other live coder on visuals here. All of the melodies appear to be stationary. They don't have any patterns that change the rhythm or notes. But they do all have different phrase lengths. This minor 7 chord over here that we talked about with PTDC, for example, has a 2-bar phrase. This really high pitch sound has a 1-bar phrase. The low bass sound has a 4-bar phrase. 2, 3, 4, 2. 2, 3, 4, 3. 2, 3, 4, 4. Oh, it has a 3-bar phrase. 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So that's another contributing factor to why it is interesting. I like how the M here kind of reminds me of like 2 eyes and a nose. It's like a doggy. Maybe this is Jake from Adventure Time. Woo! Guess who it was? Janeishly. Airhorn. This kick drop that just came in is a really nice addition. Here we go. We can see the harmonic tempos here. So we've got a 2/3 call, and then that got bumped down to 4x5. So later, after I already remember earlier I mentioned that I used a 2 divided by 3 to set it to a hemiola from the tempos. Then another thing you can do is from that harmonic tempo create another harmonic tempo. This one 80% of the tempo, so 4 divided by 5. And I left some comments here that explain the idea, since it's a bit new, experimental, so that you know which parts are easy and safe to delete whenever you encounter something like that, so that you can restore it to a previously good known state. This just got so chill. I feel like it's really hitting hip-hop territory now with how good the beat is. Specifically how good the beat is and how sparse the melodic pieces are. The delay on these percussions are really doing it for me right now. And this high-pitched thing with a lot of delay and reverb on it too. We just hit the 90s. If you weren't there for the 90s, this is what alternate rock sounded like. Smash Mouth. Third Rock from the Sun. Was that the song? Beck. Radiohead. Sublime. Those are the bands that I could think of that reminded me of this sound. Beck, Radiohead, Sublime. The first one I said. Smash Mouth. It's mostly the beat and the high ambient delay stuff. Those are the sounds that make me think 90s alternate rock. The Cardigans. Definitely some early Cardigans. Sounds like there was a crash. I don't see it though. We saw visuals. All the audio seems to have decided to take a break. Except for some sparse audio samples there and here. And to be clear, the other performers may not have the same sound. The audio is going to be unique for the person who has the website open. So there's actually about 10 copies of this performance that are all slightly different, happening concurrently. Only one of them is being captured. And the reason I say that is because a lot of these effects have some feedback in them, or some sense of non-deterministic or seeded generation to it, meaning that the performance itself, basically, whatever is actively being shown or performed, becomes reference material for the performance. So whenever we each are reloading the page to restore session state, we're each reloading at different times, and therefore recreating approximately similar, but definitely distinct copies of the performance. Oh wow, really nice hand drum sample. Sounds like bongo. Wow, this takes me back to Atlanta. The beats in Atlanta are so good. I remember going to... Oh wow, that line, yeah. A rave with a couple other livecoders in Atlanta. Ian Cluster and Matthew Caney. And it is not often that you get to hear a hip-hop rave. I went to a few in Atlanta, and it's a kind of rave that exists, so you know. I am distinguishing a rave from concert in that a rave to me indicates a setting where the goal is clearly loud music, interesting visuals, and a place for a crowd of people to dance. And probably no live vocalists. And so the hip-hop rave is distinct also from hip-hop concerts, because hip-hop concerts are pretty much exclusively defined by having someone on a microphone. There are sure hip-hop pieces, but I'd say the majority of hip-hop music depends on a microphone, on a human voice. And the hip-hop raves in Atlanta, that wasn't always there. Kind of cool to see. The music they played would still have lyrics in it sometimes, but there were more instrumental trap songs, which I suppose you only hear at the rave. Or if you're a DJ or producer like me, you would have in that way as well. really percussive. We got really great rhythmic patterns going on, especially on that class line. And the kick drum. There's the snare drum with a long decay on it. Got a big reverb tail. 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2. Here we go. That one. 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2. Hit performance once every 4 bars, and that becomes the landmark, right? That's good for I was just reading, I'm doing an article on the psychology of music and the timing, the prediction timing that is satisfying in sound. And one theory is that we have a 2-oscillator attention span for rhythmic and temporal living. And what that means is there's effectively a macroscopic and a microscopic oscillator that your ear is watching. Your ear is watching for a big picture and a small picture kind of stream. So the big picture, the macroscopic oscillator here, is that 4-bar phrase that we called out. The really long drawn-out snare drum. It's one time every 4 bars. That's our big checkpoint, right? It's the widest interval that we have that marks 9. And the inner oscillator here would be, there's actually a few. So I think the idea is that we're comparing microscopic oscillators against macroscopic oscillators. So you can only have one macroscopic oscillator, but then more microscopic oscillators that produce more high-resolution deep pulses, more note density, which is pretty much every other line that's not 4-bar phrase. I'm working on that article. You'll be able to find it on Monic Theory in a couple weeks with citations, so you can also find the papers that they're under. Oh my wow, this color comparison. We have green and a kind of blue. They're mixing so beautifully. They're in quadrants. They are definitely not mixing, but they are converging to the boundary. And then it looks like they change color to the boundary with the reflection above. The vertical reflection. On one side, the other side is when in doubt, more beats. It almost feels like a cop-out to just do beats, but it's never wrong, because people often like it, as long as the beat is stable, right? It's not too chaotic or noisy, and it's also not too bland or boring. But nothing about today's performance has been bland or boring. Quite a spectacle. But I put it like that because it does feel a bit cheap to do this beat. It's never wrong, but it could have more, right? It's always correct, but it should also always have. And the more you can have, the more melodies permanent. The beat is a lot like the road, right? The punctuated rhythm, not the but the punctuation of that a kick drum provides, that a snare drum provides, those kinds of temporal punctuation are a lot like the infrastructure for driving on the road. It's like roads, the highways, speedways, bridges that cross over one another, loops and loops. It's just infrastructure, right? It provides you the ability to pass, but it says nothing about the vehicle you use. If you're driving a car, a van, bus, airplane could even technically drive on those roads, boats, the hills could drive on them, scooters, bicycles, right? And the metaphor I'm drawing here is the distinction between what harmony and melody do compared to what rhythm does. They really are not separable. They work together literally all the time, because every second they're doing it well. And they depend on one another. It's impossible to isolate them because every sound requires at least one frequency component, and as long as there is some frequency component, there is some semblance of harmony. Contrarily, if you were to just hold down organ chords for one chord forever, that would still be classified as some kind of rhythm because it started at some point and is likely to end at some point, right? There's time frequency trade-off in rhythm and harmony. Two sides at the same point, yet still quite different in the way that we create. For measurable reasons. We are about 10 minutes to the end. I really can't tell you how this is going to end. I mean, I know I was there last week. I can't remember though. It was so... The whole jam was so complete the entire time. I couldn't remember most of it while from afterwards, which is a good experience to have. Cool things that happen. 64 Pro is here updating some dB breaks, some bass drum breaks, ptdc, working on some notes over there. Swan hopped down to Hydra to work with visuals. We have Zero New Browser leaving comments. Cleary is clearing out the region in the top middle cell. Looks like our tempo is finally back at 140. I knew we'd get there. We're back to the same tempo we started. Ah yes, classic Cleary sample. Minus hand of gold and three strike gold. Video so that we can learn together. Some people in today's jam are first time performers. I won't name names because we are all here playing together. Experienced vets and newcomers alike, and if you would like to do that too, we welcome you to join us. You can find the link in Discord. Sorry, refreshing the page. Yes, that's always right answer. We are actually pretty sparse right now. The bass register is pretty much gone. We do have a lot of low mid, but it sounds muddy because there's a lot of things occupying low mids and high mids. There's nothing in the high. All of the sound right now is concentrated in low mids and high mids, approximately the frequency range of just earballing it, 200 hertz to 3000 hertz. So pretty narrow band. We could add more clarity to the mix by introducing more high-end or top elements, like hi-hat or bright-hat synths. We can also add more harmonic structure by introducing the bass line. The bass is always the box, just not visible voice. I should write an article about that, why bass is always the box. There's good reason for it. I won't detail it now because there's only a few minutes left. Oh, janeishly took it up a notch. We're now at 150. The tempo has been raised to 150 beats per minute. It's a nice thing to do, I think, to close out a set like this, for sure. This set absolutely merits the tempo raise. I'm hearing this faint melody come through. It almost sounds like an oboe or like a snake charmer kind of melody. I really have no idea what the source is. I can't find it. I don't know what instrument that would be. It doesn't look like anything I've ever seen here. But it's a nice refreshing thing. Okay, here we go. We're closing out with some techno. Oh yeah, janeishly brought in the crow. I'm bringing in some kick drums. This bank is called jazz bank. I think it's intended to be jazz drums. I just like the bass drum sample from it. There's actually two bass drums, and I can tell because ptdc up here has one. And I noticed that mine is a note 80, and 80 would not sound deep. 80 for a bass drum is actually like the right-hand side of a piano, and so we're pitching the sample up a lot. And the kyrsive turned it to mid-range 38. So those kicks we were hearing first were at the leaf ptdc, which is here in the top right cell. The topmost one of here, perhaps out of two. This sine melody is a very interesting character. These are the notes, D2 and F2, with a good struct over it. So these effects, this diode effect gives the sine a very unique character that is no longer just a four sound wave. A little bit of piano over here with E minor. Nice. Oh, this is a great technique. Nice, nottim. That's a good one to take. So we're using a four tuple to create basically 4/16 notes and then 8 beats of rest. So we get basically an arpeggiation of one cluster of notes and a lot of space. And this is exactly what I was going to recommend, is doing some global transformation on it. So nottim now is patterning the amount of note offset, slicing into the scale of E minor. So we're using diatonic scale index notation. This is not 12-tone chromatic representation. This is note indexing. And we're adding an offset to that diatonic index here, which gives us that moving offset here. I think we need t-shirts that just say Airhorn with the Strudel logo on it. Like the Strudel logo on the front and the Airhorn on the back, like it's your team name. Okay, this is just degenerating now. Come on. This is pure chaos. It feels like the end of... to be fair, I'm not judging it. This feels entirely appropriate based on the last hour I just witnessed my life before my eyes. We have cheesy 80s sax-like melody being played by Synth. Whatever this beat, I think paired with Airhorn. This has been great. Again, you can find a link to Discord. This is a weekly event. It's a new link every week, so that's why you need to be in Discord to get it. Beginners welcome. If you've already played at an Alpha Rave, you're welcome to join. This left-hand cell over here is fantastic. You just keep scrolling and it does that. This has been the Oiler Room Weekend Jam. I am Fix. Your hosts are Cleary and savamala. Take it away, champion. They took it away, quite literally. They went so hard it went away. So hard. For real, for real. White green of love you all.